Hello, and thank you to our audience for returning to the question and answer segment of our seminar, Lifting the Curtain Debriefings. Our participants have returned to answer a few of your questions in the time we have remaining. Those questions we can't get to will be included in a document we will post to the Federal Acquisition Institute's Media Library along with the recording of today's seminar. So, what do we have to lead off?
Thank you, John. So to the folks out there still listening, we certainly appreciate it. And we're going to have industry actually chime in on some of these questions as well as government professionals, because part of this seminar was to get you exposure to industry because we think that's very important. So our first question is, it seems that during the latter part of the debriefing, the meeting started turning into an argument. And Patrick, I'd love for you to take this. How do we stop a meeting from continuing down this path? And when you're done, if industry could kind of chime in and kind of give their opinion on this, I think that would be great.
Sure. So when we were doing the broadcast previously, we're kind of going with the flow during the debriefing and answering the questions to the best of our abilities and getting to a little bit more detail than we would normally get into and letting it run a little bit longer than we would just to good for television and good learning experience and a good training environment. As you start to see things get a little contentious during debriefs, you can take a step back, you can take a 2-minute breather. You as the contracting officer can start to cut off questions. Remember, a debrief is an opportunity to give feedback on how they did on their proposal and how they can improve in the future. You don't have to get into a debate or an argument back and forth. And it is, however your personal communication style is, you just line it up, cut off the question, then move on to the next one.
And Carolyn, from industry's perspective, do debriefings typically get off target like this, and what does industry do to try to manage the tension in the room, so to speak?
Right. Well, I don't think that people in industry walk into a debriefing expecting to have any argument with our government counterparts. We're there to get information about how our proposal was evaluated. However, the hours spent on developing a solution for the government and a proposal that we feel meets all the criteria laid out in a solicitation, people get emotionally involved in what they've produced. And I think from industry's perspective, more often you see frustration when the information being shared by government during the debrief is not as candid or clear as you wish it could be, or that you're not hearing exactly why your solution was not the selected winning proposal. So I think, though, for the most part, during our debriefing here, the exercise we did, the CO handled it very well, being clear about the guidelines that we were following, and it did probably go a little further than it would in real life.
We had fun with it.
We did.
So I think the key point is, for the folks out there in the audience, share as much as you can as an acquisition professional. Industry's put a lot of time and money into this, and there'll be value on both sides. So could we flip to the next question? So, here's a question. So can the core or the technical monitor for the contract be included in the debriefing session with the vendor? And, CO, what do you think about that?
And that's fairly straightforward. We can include anyone that you feel comfortable having in the or in the debriefing. It helps to have somebody from a technical aspect, but at the same time, you want to make sure that the contracting officer is the one doing the talking because they understand the ins and outs of what's going to get you in trouble and what's not going to get you in trouble.
Very good. I'll going to the third question here. Should we always look, Patrick, this I think is a question for you, and if anybody else wants to jump in, should we always look to the senior CO for approval to answer a question, especially the legal type questions?
Debriefs are handled by a CO and their preference on how they run it. From my perspective, if I'm running a debrief, I'm the only one who's going to be talking. If I need to huddle with my team, I will do so. You want to have one point of contact, one person who's giving the message. That way you can control information going out as far as problems that can arise from saying things the wrong way as you go through the debrief. For purposes of this, we ended up allowing everyone to talk because obviously we're doing a training portion, but in real life I think you defer to your CO and you go over those ground rules before you walk into the room.
It sounds like the CO is the quarterback, and the CO should develop a plan and make sure that it's executed correctly. Is that what you're saying, Patrick?
Absolutely, and you want to make sure you have a firm plan and you stick to it.
All right, let's see. So here's a question for me. How does a new contract specialist obtain training to be proficient in their job? You know, first and foremost, as a contract specialist or contracting officer in the federal government, we have to meet certain training recommendations that are required by FAI or DOEA. And so you always have to look to DOEA or FAI for training. I would encourage all the contract specialists or 1102s out there to leverage as much of the free training as they can possibly get. The other thing that I would recommend, and Patrick, if you could jump in when I'm done and say a few things, the other thing that I would recommend is partner up with a good CO or a good program manager, someone that you can learn from, and find a mentor within your office. I really think that that will help your development. It's a blend of training and a blend of finding a mentor within the office that you work in.
The best experience you're going to get is from doing the work and doing the work from people who know how to do it. The other thing I would mention is a plug for the Treasury Acquisition Institute. TAI is a great educational center. They offer classes on all the acquisition points, and I would highly encourage people to seek some of their training needs through that.
Okay, so let's move on. We only have time for a few more questions here. Should government have legal representation from general counsel?
So for that one, it's simple. It's agency discretion and policy. However, our practice is if a vendor is going to bring their lawyers, you should have legal representation. And that's, from my perspective, you shouldn't go in down that valuable asset that your government agency can provide to you.
Okay, so I believe we have time for kind of one more question, and I wanted to make sure we get some feedback from both industry and government in this one, because I think that's important, and that was the purpose of this. So, you know, industry and government, and everybody at the table, Thomas, feel free to jump in. Have you experienced procurements where unsuccessful offers submit a protest prior to asking for a debriefing? What is the best practice, or how should such an event be handled?
I think I can go first briefly. I would recommend that people wait till you have your debriefing before you decide whether or not you're going to protest. That's the opportunity for you to get the feedback. And frankly, it's going to save you from filing an extra supplemental or extra 2 supplemental protests. It's going to save your lawyers some rework if that's the route you go. And it gives us an opportunity to fully explain it to you. And that would just be, from a government perspective, my recommendation. But
I would echo that from an industry perspective. I think it would be a little unwise to file a protest prior to having the opportunity to get your debriefing. It'll provide clarity on the government's position and their evaluation of your proposal, and you have an opportunity to engage with government to better understand what you believe is your basis for protest. So yeah, I haven't ever seen a company, or in my experience, protest prior to having the benefit of the debrief.
Guys, one of the keys to being a good 1102 and to being a professional in this industry is to understand the industry base that you do business with. We hope this gave you an opportunity to see that live. I just want to give the panel one last chance to make any comments. I believe we're out of time. But any last comments, Patrick, Thomas, Carolyn?
thank you. I had fun doing it. It was a great meeting, everyone.
It was a great meeting, a great opportunity to engage with our counterparts in government in a scenario that was fun, but it was real. And you all saw the exchange, the emotion, the excitement that people have about defending their position on either side. And really, we're all just looking for clarity and understanding. And that's what the objective of these debriefs are.